I know. I want to jump into a story, but first, this portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. With 4 great locations, there is bound to be one near you. Come with friends or bring the family for some food and fun. Don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun. So next up, we have the networking news, and this is last week I'm going to do this read. So I forget about it until we get right here.
And you're like, oh yeah, I need to send that.
Yes. So the networking news is brought to you by Symphonic CBD. Symphonic CBD is a branch of Live Your Best Life, which are both advocates of Green Compass Global. Green Compass products are USDA organic, lab-tested, non-GMO, made in the USA, and cruelty-free. CBD products are key in making calmness a habit. They also have CBD for our fur babies, and they work wonderfully because I mentioned in previous shows that I use them on our dog, Roxy, because she's getting up there in age, and they've made a huge difference in her calmness. So you can find Symphonic CBD on Instagram at symphonic.cbd, and then also her Facebook page is now growing. I've started to send out some stuff. So I'm teaching Anna. She's my daughter. So my daughter Anna started Symphonic CBD. Is that she's more Instagram savvy and I'm more Facebook savvy. And really, in the scope of things, when you're trying to grow a business from the ground up, you really got to know Facebook, especially if it's an online business. So, all right. So what do we got for the networking news today?
That's fun. That's appropriate.
That was great.
Okay, this time I have something kind of fun. I have 5 questions that you guys are going to guess the answers to. It all relates to businesses and websites for the most part. Okay. So the first question is, what's the percentage of businesses that have their own website? What would you guess?
I'd say it's 70.
I'd say about 75.
Oh, you guys are so close. It's 64%.
Oh, really? I would have thought it would have been higher. You got to have a website.
I did too. I would think by now everybody would have a website.
Well, what I've been finding out too is some people get a Facebook page and then they think they don't need a website.
That's probably where that 10% that you were thinking.
Yeah.
They're the ones that just have a Facebook page and leave it there. Well, a lot of people go on Facebook too. So.
No. Having a Facebook page is great, but I still feel like you need to have you need to have a website. There's something that builds that credibility.
I think also updating your website. So our website's getting ready to be updated. We're going to have a whole new look to the website. So it'll be a lot simpler to navigate through.
Keeps it fresh so people aren't bored of it. Yeah, definitely. Okay. What do you think are the top 3 visited websites?
Government agency of sorts?
OnlyFans.
You know what, Melissa? I was like, this is
that a website?
This better not be an inappropriate website.
I thought OnlyFans was like a platform, or no, it's a website.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I think it counts.
Is that one of them?
No, it's not one of them.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years.
I would think of some sort of government agency, some sort of support group.
Do you have a guess?
So I think hospitals or medical questions also.
These are way more. You guys are getting so detailed. Okay, so the most visited would be Google.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't count that. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have. I would didn't count.
To me, that's a search engine.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. And then the next one would be YouTube, and the next one would be Facebook. So for businesses.
Okay.
Google is number 1. That's where the most visited. So you should have a Google My Business page. You should have one.
Did you make one for me?
I did.
Okay. You did show me how to get to it.
I did. Also for YouTube. So if you are making reels, make a YouTube page, put them on YouTube as well. It's the second most visited.
And we have one now.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And we've got about 28 videos. So we've got a high schooler that's doing that for us.
Oh, that's nice.
Getting some great.
Well, it's experience for them, but it's also content for you guys, which is awesome.
Yep. And then the third one is Facebook. How we were talking about, you have to know Facebook for that reason. So if you're a business, these are the top 3 websites. Probably be on all 3 of those. The next one is, do you think that there are any businesses that do not need a website?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Or don't benefit from one, I guess.
I don't know. I think any business, any and all business can benefit from having a website, even if it's just for information purposes. I'd say no.
Same thing. I think everybody needs at least a landing page where somebody can look it up and, even if it's just your mission statement or what you do.
Right. So people have an idea. that is what I thought as well. And it's for the most part, that's the right answer. But they gave a couple like niche things. Like if you're a time limited pop-up business, then you probably don't need a website if it's something short-term like that. But for the most part, yes, you're right. Because websites, people can access them 24/7. It just makes you more accessible and you can get more information if you're not face-to-face.
Right.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
it is.
I wouldn't have thought. All right. I have two more.
Okay.
All right. How much can a website boost a business's revenue, would you guess? So the difference between having your own website and not having a website, having that extra visibility, what do you think like the percentage that would boost your revenue?
Well, it depends on the business and if they're doing like any sort of e-commerce, but I think having a website could boost your business, again, depending on the field, up to 50%.
I agree. I know that when we got our first website, I say our first, not that we have more than one. When we got our website, we were in the middle of it was a small campaign. Although as we were talking and sharing about it, people immediately could go to it and then donate.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we raised, I think, $42,000 in less than a month.
Oh my God.
But I bet your website was your biggest asset, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. You are actually right on. It's between 30 and 50% to
Nice.
boost your revenue.
Sometimes
So
I'm a businesswoman.
you just
Dang it.
knows it inside and out.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have is, what do you think is the most common extension for a business to use for a website?
What do you mean extension?
.org.
Yeah, like .org, .net, .com.
Well, .com is going to be the most common for a business.
.org.
.org
I was going to
is,
say .org.
.org is either government or charity, right?
I think it's hospital also.
Is it hospital?
Businesses too.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
See, whenever I see a .org, I always think it's a nonprofit or it's a government agency.
I think it's an educational thing for some reason.
Okay.
Or EDU, I guess.
EDU's education.
Yeah.
But so what is it?
It's actually .com.
Is it?
Okay.
It is.
Uh-huh.
.org is probably the second most, but .com, just everybody knows it. So in general, if you're giving someone who wants to visit your business website your web address, you'd want it to be .com. It's just,
See, and
people
we-
can remember it
And
easier.
we have a .com, a .net, and a .org.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we
it
bought all
covers-
three.
Yeah.
Covered them all.
Just in
Here,
case.
Real Radio is realradio.fm. That's theirs. So that's
It's just a pointer.
yeah. So like I said, I think we're coming up to break.
Oh, I have a bonus question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yay.
Is what? How long do I have to make this bonus question?
About 30 seconds.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Oh, good. What does the .com? What's it short for? Stand for?
I don't know. I
don't
don't
know
know.
Me either. I thought it was computer. It's not computer, guys. It's commercial.
Like-
Because yeah,
Oh.
COM commercial?
yeah,
I should know that, being in
Yeah.
radio.
it's commercial.
All right, you guys. Well, we're fixing to go to break. And so when we get back from break, we're going to talk more with Stephanie Bowman, founder of One Heart for Women and Children.
You're listening to Bad Radio on News Radio, WFLA Orlando. We'll be back with more. Stay right there.
I didn't understand what you were saying to me, Melissa. I'm sorry. As
I
far
was
as
saying it was a short intro or outro, so you weren't going to get 30 seconds.
Okay,
You were
okay,
fine. We
okay.
ended just where I wanted you to,
All
okay?
right, my bad. Like I said, I'm like, we've got a short bed and this and that. I'm
Well,
like,
you asked me for your beds, and from what I can put together, some of them are a little shorter
Okay.
because of the lyric come in, and I'm sorry about the ones we don't have in the system.
Oh,
It's
don't
kinda
worry about it
weird.
at all. That's why I gave you several.
Yeah.
So is the rule they can't have any words?
Well, they don't podcasts and all that that iHeart has to do with. We just don't want any music in it because we're getting charged. You know.
Okay.
People want to get their money.
Are you going to
Mhm.
get charged for what I did?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm just going to beat you with a stick.
Oh. Well, I like it because it's my selected music.
Yeah, I know. Blah, blah,
I'm an
blah.
artist.
Special.
What can I
Yeah.
say?
Blah, blah, blah. If you were, you'd say I'm an artiste.
Okay, then I'm not an artist. I just like my music.
Fine. All right, stand by to come back. As soon as you're done drinking whatever that gross concoction is.
Kratom, baby.
Oh, so now she's going to get all high on us.
Kratom, you don't get high.
Yeah, you do.
It's green. Green kratom.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know
Strawberry
the
and
difference.
mango and still
Really
delicious.
don't care.
She's like, I don't
All
know
right,
the difference.
stand by on the set.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. If you're ready for a girls' night out, check out their huge selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, club wear, and so much more. We won't pay those high prices because we're going to go directly to the source. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Oh, yeah.
See, there's that .net right there.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
I never really noticed that before.
Yeah.
So there's .net, there's .com,
EDU.
the edu,
.org,
yeah.
.biz.
.biz. Yeah.
Another one.
All right. We're here with Stephanie. And again, Stephanie and I met through social media. I think that she made a comment on an event that I did with my daughter. And we just started chatting back and forth. And then we met in person for the first time at an event called 100 Women Strong.
Okay.
And Stephanie stood up, and there was somebody that was like, we had a speaker, and she got up and she told just a few minutes of her story, and I was blown away. So thank you for being with us today. It was super. I'm very flattered that you're here.
Thank you, and I'm honored that you asked me to be here.
Absolutely. So let's just start with the beginning. I know that's like it's very generalized, but
Right?
we've got about 30 minutes to talk about from the beginning to here.
Right.
So-
I love that. So I want to start by sharing a little bit about growing up, because my mom was she got polio when she was 8 years old, so she was paralyzed from the waist down, and she was the oldest of 8 children. And the reason why I share that is because her not being able to walk never stopped her from anything, nothing, except walking.
Are you from Florida originally?
No, Indiana.
Okay.
Yep. So my dad was in the Army and traveled quite a bit, and Mom raised 3 children in a wheelchair. I don't know how she did it. I raised children as well, and but not in a wheelchair. And I'll tell you that every single time when I was growing up, when there was an issue, or myself or one of my siblings said, oh my God, we can't do this, Mom would look down at her legs, look back up at us with a whole lot of love and compassion.
And then she'd smack you on the back of the head.
And we're like, oh, okay, we can figure that one out.
Yeah.
And we always found solutions. So when I was 15 years old, something drastic happened, and I was raped and got pregnant and had an abortion. My whole life changed. I veered away from my family. I veered away from everything that I knew.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. I know you're going to say it's not my fault, but it's just I am truly like it hurts my heart when I hear stuff like that.
Yeah. And thank you for that. Statistically, and we'll talk about more of that later, but it's like 1 out of every 5 women. One out of
Such
every
a high
5.
percentage.
Absolutely. And more and more, what we're finding is more and more people are as we're healing that trauma, and more people are talking about it.
Right. When
And-
before it was kind of like, well, just deal with it kind of thing.
Well, that's what was said. It was you're going to go to church. You're going to confess your sins. And not that I had any, sins to confess. Well, I'll tell you what I did is I veered away from the youth group. I veered away from my family. I went next door where there was some really dark things happening, and I could tell people. I mean, they were having fun, and I walked next door, and that was the first time that I got high. And for the next 17 years, I was in and out of addiction.
What do you think made you veer away from family and things like that after that? Just
The shame,
Yeah,
shame,
'cause
guilt.
it's
I felt
hard.
dirty.
It's hard.
I felt like nobody would believe me. It was a trusted person in our home, and when I said something to somebody, what was said is what was asked is what was I wearing, and that wasn't a family member, and it was somebody that I trusted. And when that question was asked, like my whole brain switched, and it was okay. So I'm not going to tell anybody about it. What I will say now, because it's been healed, if I would have gone to somebody that I knew loved me unconditionally, that they would have just wrapped their arms around me, said that they were sorry that it happened, and they would have helped me to get the help that I needed so that could have been healed. That's also why I'm a life coach today, because we can get in quickly and connect our heads and our hearts and start healing some of that trauma. So at 15 years old when that happened, I still graduated from high school, and and had some jobs and had some relationships. But I'll tell you that through all of that, nothing seemed 100%. Nothing seemed really authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing felt like I don't think that I was doing the things that I was doing because I wanted to, because I really was staying numb somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't drugs or alcohol, it was shopping or sex or, whatever. It was always something. It was trying to fill that hole in my soul that I didn't know how to fill it up. And I didn't know that it was going to be an internal job.
Mm-hmm.
So for 17 years in and out of the addiction.
Well, I mean, I understand addiction. So I know that it's when things get tough, it's a lot easier to go to the dark place than it is to stay in the light because you go to the dark place, it's like everybody's kind of down and out, and you feel like this sense of welcome because
Mm-hmm.
it's
Almost more comfortable.
well, it's not as hard. It's
Mhm.
hard. Like when I say it's hard to stay in the light, it's because you have to overcome what were you wearing? You have
Mhm.
to overcome like all these different things. But when you go to the dark side, everybody's just like, "Come on, girl.
Like accepts it.
Yeah,
like
we're
that.
Right,
like,
right.
have a seat at the bar table, at the bench next to
Mhm.
here. Let's have a shot." And
They
Mhm.
say misery loves company.
Mhm.
pretty much,
Yes, you just said it. And what I found is the people that I was hanging out with were people that in my mind, they were either doing things that I was doing or worse.
Mhm.
And so it made it for me where people weren't looking at me and judging what I was doing or not doing.
hmm
And I'll tell you that within that 17 years, I got pregnant a couple more times, had a whole lot of miscarriages, and in my mind, I say a whole lot, 5 miscarriages, and pretty much back to back. And I thought that God did something to me, like that was my payback.
right. Like he was punishing you.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that
I lived a
hurts.
lot of years that way as
Mhm.
well in that 17 years. But I'll tell you that there were always people that were watching out for me, and I didn't realize it until I
Mhm.
got clean and sober. So at 32 years old with 2 children, I ended up getting married to my children's father, who also was one of my drug dealers. And um, I left in the middle of the night when my youngest daughter was 5 months old and my oldest daughter was 6 years old. And, there's a whole lot of trauma and a whole lot of stories in all of that time, which every single bit of that helped me to be the woman that I am today.
Mhm.
So I'm really grateful that, that I made it out of a lot of that,
Yeah,
or all
that's-
of it,
that's
right? Because not
amazing.
everybody does.
Right.
No, they
That's
don't.
That's a lot
Yeah.
too.
So when I ended up homeless and I was addicted to drugs, and
When you left
when I left,
and you had how many?
2 children.
2.
And I'll also share that when I gave birth to both children, I went through some of my pregnancy with both children in addiction. And what happened during my addiction is that, each time I would say, well, I'm doing this, but I'll never do that. And then the progression of the disease
Mhm.
of addiction, it was at some point, I'm never going to do that, ended up being okay.
It just
And-
kind of pushed it out.
Crossed the line
Yeah.
each time. And so there really were no more boundaries. And so when I found myself homeless, I was running from the domestic violence. My 6-year-old daughter said, "Daddy's going to kill you tonight." And I don't know where she heard that. And we left. And when we left, I left with nothing but my children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad
And-
you took them with you
Oh, me too.
because
Me
I know a
too.
lot of people wouldn't be strong enough to do that.
Yeah. Well, we ended up in an area where my drug addiction ran rapid for the next 5 weeks. But there was an angel that was watching out after us, and I'm so grateful for that, because that's part of what we'll talk about here in a couple minutes.
Right. So, okay, I mean, we have 1 minute till break, but what I want to talk about is what does that look like what does it look like to go to a shelter, or, what are the options for people that are in your situation? Because I wouldn't even know, but I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, I want to understand so that I can help as much as possible. I've never been in that situation.
Mhm.
I understand addiction now. I'm 4 years sober.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Yep, from alcohol. And so I get it. I understand the dark part of the brain that doesn't get all, you know what I mean? So, all right. So that means if we're going to break. And so we got a little deep right here, but I want to go a little
Yeah.
bit deeper because this is like touching my soul. So stay tuned. And when we get back, we're going to talk more with Stephanie Malvin, founder of One Heart for Women and Children.
Deep in our souls, we're going to touch coming up. It's Bad Radio.
You did, but
It's
okay.
Bowman, right?
Yeah,
Bowman.
Bowman.
Let me see.
Thanks for allowing me to go super raw.
No, I love
Yeah.
that.
I
love
feel
that.
like you may have left a few things out, but I'm going to be all right with that.
Yeah,
Anything
I
with this
did.
one?
I know you did. I could tell. I know things.
You do.
I can also tell things, so it's just how I
You guys are talking like,
Secret code.
yeah.
am. Not really. No. No, we're not.
Yeah.
All right. Segment 3.
All right, so it's Bowman.
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 Why?
B-O.
B-O. I'm going to do this then. There we go. I have to spell it. the way it-
All good.
Mhm. Spell it phonetically.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I have to do.
Uh-huh. Me too.
More of that gunk.
Just make sure
Does that really bother you?
No, it kind of looks
They're all recording.
gross.
It's strawberry mango. It's absolutely
making
delicious.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Thank you.
Mm. All right, she set you little one.
Yep.
Okay, now let's get into the deep, raw, skinny, and bad radio. Hey, for those of you watching on the social media, I hope you're enjoying this. If you have any questions, just start in the chat, and I'll pass it along to the ladies as it is. All right, stand by. We're getting ready to kick into segment number 3.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back, and this portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. No company is too small with ForgeITConsulting.com. All right, so we are back with Stephanie Bowman, founder of One Heart for Women and Children, and we're going to continue on the story, talking about, so far we've talked about how she got started, some really tragic stuff. And when we left off, she left in the middle of the night with her 2 kids, those 6 years old and 5 months old.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do then?
So we ended up down in Paramore, Anderson area. And
That's a rough area.
Yep.
What year was this, too?
1999.
That's even, in 1999, that area was
Rough.
scary town.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. I will also share, fast forward, that's one of the areas when I first started One Heart for Women and Children. That's the area that we first started serving in, very, very intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were homeless for 5 weeks, 5 short weeks, but long enough to know that nobody in the United States should ever have to live that way. Nobody.
Do you go to, are you allowed to stay inside the shelter with your children? And do they provide you with clothes? And I know that we've donated, there's a Women and Children's on Washington, I think it
Mhm.
is. And Anna always wants to give her stuffed animal. Like when we had to purge stuffed animals, that's where they went.
Right.
Because she wanted to actually give them to children. It was really sweet. They write her cards and everything. But do you go there and live? And then,
Some people do. Most shelters, especially back then, you could go in if you had $3. Most of us didn't have any money, unless we were, asking somebody for money.
Mhm.
And even then, that money wouldn't go for shelter for the night. But you have to have back then, it's $7 a night now. So you had to have $3. And when you went in, you could go in and you could have dinner, and you would sleep in a cot in a big room with a lot of other people. And most people were there not necessarily for the right reason. And you would get up the next morning if you slept, and you'd have breakfast, and by 8 o'clock, everybody had to be out the door. So it was not what it is now. I'll say that.
Okay.
It was, for me, I felt safer outside, behind the dumpster, and in the woods.
are you kidding me?
Mm. Yep. And now, again, what I'll say is that there's a lot of things that have changed in the last 24 years.
Right.
Yeah. So there were a couple of us moms with kids, and that's what we did. We slept. We were pretty close to the underpass of Paramore and Anderson, and people were looking for us. My family was looking for us. DCF was looking for us, and they found us after 5 weeks. And they took my children to foster care, and as they were putting me in the vehicle, they said, "You have a choice. You have a choice to go to jail, or you have a choice to go to detox," which meant treatment. And I said, "I think I'll take the second one."
Yeah.
And I did, and it was a 6-month treatment center. I was there almost 9 months. It took me a little bit longer.
But sorry, I'm
Yeah.
always who paid for it?
So it was $5 a day. We didn't have to pay for it. So it was government. Most of it was government
Okay.
funded. So it was called Steps in Apopka, and I will tell you, they saved my life. They saved my life. One of the things that, as soon as I walked in, I heard something about $5 a day, and I said, I don't have any money. They said, you don't have to worry about it until you get a job. When you get a job, then you'll pay your bill, and you'll also, by then, you will love yourself so much that you're going to want to be
you're
able to
giving me
help others.
goosebumps. So was it the police station that put you in touch with this agency in Apopka?
Nope. I literally was in the vehicle, and I had a choice to go to jail or to detox, and they drove me to detox.
Okay, and that's how you met the people at
Mhm.
Apopka.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. So they so I went to detox. I was in detox for 10 days, and then they drove me to steps.
Mhm.
So they made that decision on where I was going.
Well,
Now,
like I said, you do have an angel then.
oh, so many angels.
Did they call it an intervention?
They called it an yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did. Before that, I attempted to get clean and sober about 10 times. I went to detox or treatment just enough to get people off my back. And then, so I really wasn't doing it for myself. This time I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. This time I really, really I wanted a clear mind. I wanted to be able to, I wanted to love myself. I don't know. I can tell you that I don't feel like I loved myself since I was 15 years old. When I remember one of the counselors said, she lined all of us up. There were 24 of us. She lined us all up in front of mirrors, big mirrors, and we're all crying. And she said, and we're crying and not really necessarily looking at ourselves.
Right.
And we were there for 2.5 hours, and I'll never forget that experience, because that 2.5 hours, by the time we were done, all of us, we're saying affirmations, we're smiling, we're crying, we're laughing. It was a big pivot time for me. That was a breaking time for me. So I knew that I was starting to love myself. I was starting to feel something again. So when I graduated from treatment, I got my kids back the day I graduated. The judge gave me full custody of my
Very
kids back.
nice.
Yep, yep.
That's so good that it was immediate.
Oh, so amazing.
Yeah.
And I started diving in and volunteering in different places, and quickly jumped on the board of directors of another women's treatment center.
You had to get your own housing now, though, right? Like you couldn't continue to live there, though, right?
Correct. So my parents let me live with them for 4 years.
Very nice.
So when I graduated, thank you for saying that. When I graduated, my mom and dad said, for the first year, come live with us. You will not have a key to the house. You will have rules. You will have,
It was just because of the trust from before.
Absolutely.
They're so weary. Got it.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we do now. I do a lot of interventions, and I also do a lot of help families as the women are graduating from treatment to put a plan together.
And transition.
That's it. Put a plan together. And it's so important to have it in writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I can get that. So you had your parents had boundaries for you. Because I know a lot of people that the parents are almost the enablers, and so they don't put these boundaries on their children or their loved ones, and they could continuously be taken advantage of and let down. So I think that the fact that you had these boundaries, and I think the fact that you abided by them were really fantastic.
Was there a history, though, of you ripping off your parents or the
Absolutely.
deceit and all that? So that's where the trust factor really comes in.
Absolutely. And they watched me rip through a lot of other, like I was a hurricane. I
have such a hard time picturing this.
I know.
Don't you?
She's so demure,
I know.
It goes to show that we all have a story, right? We all have a story. And when those angels appear, when we're ready to do something different, the people appear. They're ready to help us through that transition time. So that's part of, when I was sick and tired of being sick and tired and ready to do something different, it was like magically. I mean, it wasn't magic, but, that's what it felt like. It was like, wow, I didn't realize you had been there for so long.
I know that overcoming addiction is a lot of hard work, but I know that like there's certain things that I will remember, like my first sober laugh was like a huge, because I had laughed a lot and I had laughed sober, but I mean, when I was going through the thick of like being like in this horrible alcohol cage, I always call it. I call it my cage. When I would get like a break of sobriety and I would get that first sober laugh, it was like, it was one of the best things ever. But it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it's internal work, and they said, don't leave until the miracles happen. And what I found is that each time there was another piece of healing, there was another break in what I thought that I could never talk about it. The shame, the guilt, the remorse. And what happened is every time that I met with my sponsor, my mentor,
Right.
it was just it was like another peel of the onion that came off.
I get it's therapy for me to tell stories. I have a group I call it Pass the Buzz. It's a sober support group for women, and it's not huge. It's got like 230 something women in it, and I post in there every day, and I post whatever's on my mind, and it relates to people. Sometimes nobody comments, but most of the time people will message me privately because they're not ready to like really go into that. But again, it's not about me. So there's several different things that I want to talk about. We still have like we still have two or one more segment. One more. I want to talk about the charity, and I want to talk about the growth of the charity, and I want to talk about what we can do or what are some of the objectives, or what are some of your goals for this upcoming year, how everybody can get in touch with you. I'm trying to think what else, everything that we can do to help that grow. So we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about all the stuff that I just rattled off. So stay tuned.
Boy, I hope you wrote that down because I can't remember it. But anyway, when we come back, we'll talk about all of that and maybe more. It's Bad Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Okay, so my last
Make sure you mention whatever the name of her charity is. I don't think I've heard it.
Yeah, One Heart for Women and Children. I've said it at the beginning of each.
Said it more during the segment for me because I can't hear it. We want people to donate. Yay!
It'll be at the end.
Remember Radio 101. Every once in a while it slips. I'm sorry.
No, I've been saying it at the beginning of each.
True.
Each one.
True.
My other guest is just in the lobby, so I just said we're going to be 10 more minutes.
Okay,
So.
that's good.
Thank you for letting me share as much as I have.
Oh,
No, I wish we
thank
had.
you.
I kind of wish now that I had the whole 2 hours.
Yeah, no, seriously.
We'll have you
Can
on again.
Yeah,
Okay,
can you-
that'd
can
be
you come
great.
back?
Yes.
Okay. All right, stand by for segment 4, final one of the hour.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
This portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. With rainy season here, you should ask about the water sensor so your lawn does not get too much water. If you're buying a home, and this is also good information for realtors, as well, ask about the irrigation system inspection. And don't forget about the lawn painting service. If you're planning an outdoor event or you want to hide those brown spots on the lawn, 407-468-4295. You can also reach them at groundupinc.net. There's another .net.
.net. What are you guys doing?
And see, now I'm going to notice that for all of them. All right, we are talking with Stephanie Bowman, founder of One Heart for Women and Children. So, I can't remember. At the end of last one, we talked about several different things that we want to make sure that we talk about.
The kind of services that you offer is one of them.
Yes,
we can start there.
Let's talk about your charity.
Beautiful. So I started One Heart for Women and Children 15 years ago, and I was 8 years clean and sober when I started it. One of the reasons why I started One Heart is because there were not a lot of services for the women and children where I was homeless, and also for the women where I was in treatment. So when I started One Heart, we just wanted to be able to help share resources. We wanted to find the people and the businesses that had the resources and connect them, bridge them to the people that needed them, whether it was food, clothing,
Feminine
furniture.
hygiene.
Yes. And that's a lot of the things that, like, what a lot of people probably don't know is that there's women, girls that cannot go to school because they don't have the feminine products, here in the United States.
Yeah.
So when we started One Heart, it was simple. I say simple, basic needs, and there was no charge to any of it. We were working in storage units for the first 4 years, and somebody blessed us with a building. So we've been there for almost 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So we have a community food pantry 4 days a week. We're helping over 20,000 people with food and other services every single month.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Before the pandemic, we were helping about 3,000 people each month. Now we are helping. Yeah, thank you. The pandemic really, the pandemic changed a whole lot. It also changed the way that we serve at One Heart. What we know is that there's a lot of families as they were losing their businesses or their jobs, or two-income family going down to a one-income family. They were needing food, the basic need. So we have a lot of partnerships, Trader Joe's and Publix and Walmart and Second Harvest Food Bank,
Yes.
where we're able to get food and helping 20,000 people each month. We go through a lot of food. We are always looking for sponsors to help us with food. We do have a shared cost for a lot of our food.
Okay.
And so our food expense is about $20,000 each month.
Okay. So how does somebody get in touch with you if they want to be a part of One Heart for Women and Children?
You can go to our website, which is oneheartorlando.org. There's a place on the website where you can also ask for a conversation with Stephanie. I also, my telephone number, can I share that on here?
Absolutely.
Okay, is 321-424-0403. You can text or call, and I love to meet people to talk about how we can help each other, because it's really about making the relationships. We love when our donors and our partners actually come out and volunteer their time with us as well.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Besides sponsorship, if there are any other ways, so volunteer time.
Next Level Networking is where I got into networking. It's a networking group that didn't make it past COVID, and once a quarter we would go as a networking group. We would go and work. And I worked at Second Harvest before, where we would put together the food that the kids got for the weekend. So because lots of times kids, the only food that they get during the week is the food they get at school.
Yep.
And
Right.
so on weekends or for long holidays, they they have like to go boxes.
Right.
And what I found out too is half the time they have to hide it,
Mhm.
like from their parents, because their parents will eat their food.
Mm.
Isn't that just crazy?
So we partner with College Park Middle School, and we started a pantry there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's student led, which is really amazing because
Yeah,
it
that's
took
beautiful.
it took the stigma away, and it wasn't an adult in there. There was really it was peer to peer, and it's beautiful to watch.
So do you do that, like programs like that, where people can come in and because we'll do that. We'll put BaadRadio. We'll put
Yeah.
something together and
That
have
would
people
be-
come.
That would be amazing. We also once a month have a mobile food distribution where we have anywhere between 30 and 60,000 pounds of food that's given away in 4 hours. Where we have 100 volunteers, we have a sponsor, always looking for a sponsor, $5,000, and that pays for all the T-shirts and all the moving pieces and parts of that day.
I know Froggers would be interested in talking to you as well. They're one of my main sponsors.
That would be amazing.
And they have, they'll do things time to time where, like during COVID, when people were having a hard time, they gave away free food where it was just like for a whole afternoon, you'd lined up and how many people you had in the car, you got a plate for each one of them. And even the owner, George, was out there putting together pulled pork sandwiches for it. And we helped obviously promote it. And there was they did it for 6 hours straight.
That's
I
amazing.
love it because it's people helping people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the political belief or the, religious belief or any of that. It's people loving people, people helping people. And that's one of our taglines.
Yeah.
We just want to get in and help people while they're in a time of need.
And what are some of the things that you're in need of?
So we are at the end of our $1 million capital campaign. We've raised $800,000 in four
So
and
you
a
need
half months.
$200,000.
Yes, we do. And every dollar counts. When people hear that, they're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. Well, sure, it's a lot of money when you think of all of it at once. But it's not when you start breaking it down and, when people donate $15, $10, $5,
What is the $1 million
$1,000.
for? Is
So a new building.
okay.
Yeah. So we have outgrown our space. On Saturday, we have a thrift store. And then during the week, we have our food pantry. But we also have a lot of programs. So we shuffle things room to room at One Heart. And we don't have a lot of air conditioning. Like we have 2 offices that are air conditioned in our pantry, and that's it.
Right.
So we will be able to. We're already working with engineers, and we've got an architect, and so we've already started the planning, but we are so close, and the land has already been purchased.
Okay.
Somebody purchased the land, so we are at the last push there for the dollars so that we can start the build.
And do you have a couple drives coming up, or is this is all just organic? Like we're gonna talk about it, we're gonna push people to your website, or do you do like drives?
We do. So we also, one of our fundraisers on July 13th, it's called Feed-A-Palooza. And we did one last year. We're doing it each year. And we're raising dollars as we are raising money for One Heart. We also, it's a big giving of food day and other resources. And it'll be at Camping World. It'll be on Thursday, July 13th.
Okay. I'm going to check our calendar.
Yeah,
see if we
let's
can
do that.
help out.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the website, there's information about that. One Heart for Women and Children Facebook page also, and on my personal page, which is Stephanie Bowman.
Mm-hmm. So I think what you're doing is absolutely beautiful. And so that's the new building. And then as far as after that, so, I mean, that's just going to be, where is the new building going to be at?
It's on Orange Blossom Trail right off the Silver Star. It's 1.5 miles from where we are right now. So it's still College Park, which is beautiful. Like it's a line, like literally the next street turns, it's not College Park.
Right. I know that I thought Silver Star was farther away. So like you said, that's going to be July 13th. And then everything else we can drive people to the website.
That'll be great. And also we've got we're giving away 500 to 1,000 backpacks on August.
Is that going to be for back to school?
August 5th. And then during the summer, we help a lot more families with food. So if anybody very organically wants to start a food drive, canned food drive, always looking for people to do that, especially during the summer.
Yeah. That's, like I said, your story is so inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, literally talk about like dragging yourself out of a dumpster to get to where you are today. It's such a beautiful thing. Give everybody all of your contact information again.
Absolutely.
And you can, like I said, we have about 30 seconds. So
okay. Website is oneheartorlando.org. Phone number 321-424-0403. Email is helponeheart@gmail.com. Facebook, One Heart for Women and Children. Instagram is One Heart Matters.
Beautiful. Love it. And we'll post all of that on our social media as well. All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us for this hour. And we are going to be back shortly with the second hour of the show. So please stay tuned.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, whatever. You're listening to Bad Radio. We'll check the top of the hour news and be back with more networking opportunities for you. BaadRadio.com for more information.
I wanted to talk about your story so much more.
I know. What song was that, though? I dug it.
Atomic Dog.
Oh.
You ever heard that? Bow, wow, wow.
Oh,
yippee-yo,
yes.
yippee-yay,
Yes.
bow, wow, yippee-yo, yippee-yay.
I know. I do too. We'll
love
have her
it.
back on the show.
Yeah.
I would
for
love
sure.
that.
For sure. Oh. Especially if we talk